I'm Lowanna Grant, and you've just been granted access. This is where I sit down with some of the most influential voices to bring you real, honest yarns about life, ambition, resilience, and everything in between. We go beyond the headlines and into the heart of our stories. The culture, the humour, and the hustle that shape who we are. These are the stories you might not have heard, but definitely need to. I'm Lowanna Grant, and this is Access Granted. Kobie, thank you so much for joining me on Access Granted and coming into the studio. You brought your kids with you as well. So, working dad, how's it been, like juggling, family life, work commitments? It must be pretty crazy at times.
It's definitely something that I'm still finding the balance of. I think it's something that it's always going to be a forever thing of finding out the best way to do things. Like even today, my partner, she was busy as well, so it's like I've just got to bring my kids with me. And I've done it for so many different things, and sometimes it's really cool for my daughter especially. She's the oldest, so she really, I guess, will remember these kinds of things. So for her,
it's exciting.
Yeah. But then there's also the times when they can't come to things, and I've got to be away. I've got to do shows. I'm working on my album at the moment, so it's like a lot of hours in the studio. So there's definitely that part of it where there's a bit of guilt as well of being away from them for those kind of times. It's a forever flowing thing.
Yeah, and I did want to jump into fatherhood as well a little bit later in the interview, but you're on Access Granted, and I just wanted to ask you if there's something that you could share with us that people might not know or they might be genuinely surprised to know about you.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't know that I used to box. Like boxing was I thought that was going to be my career. That was like my life choice for a long time. I had about 16 fights. Oh
wow, that's cool.
I won a featherweight championship. I moved up. I won a lightweight championship. When I do speak about like boxing and stuff like that, it surprises people because at first people think I just train, but I'm like, no,
it used to be like a full-on professional.
That was going to be my life, you know? And so there's like I think a lot in the boxing community, like when I go and watch fights, there's a lot of people that knew me as a boxer that now see me as a rapper. But then there's a lot of people that just know me as a rapper, and then when they hear it's like I live in two
worlds.
Yeah.
That's
so
really
it's funny.
interesting because I didn't know that either. So
yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. And what was it like growing up, like in the early years for you, like as a kid?
Yeah, look, I grew up in Southeast Sydney, in Maroubra. Got it on my hat here. It's like, for me, I'm very proud of where I grew up. I grew up in a small part of Maroubra. It's like our own little suburb. Like it's still part of Maroubra, but it was called Lexo. It's called Lexo. And it came with there was a lot of different struggles, and there was a lot of things that we were exposed to in that pocket of Maroubra that we grew up in. And so there was definitely a lot of challenging things growing up. There was definitely a lot of things that we had to kind of adapt to growing up where we grew up. But overall, I think I'm very grateful for my mum. Like I've had the best mum growing up, and even just the community that I grew up in. It came with a lot of its struggles and a lot of things have happened, but I feel like that's just shaped who I am today. I just wouldn't be the man that I am today without all of the trials and tribulations and the struggles and the pain and grief and all those things throughout like my childhood. It's kind of hard to put a word on what it was like, because there's so many different things that I could say was very good parts of my childhood, and then there's parts that were very bad parts of my childhood. And but I always just come back to those are the things that shaped who I am today. So
I think the things that we go through, they build us into the person that we are, and then you can help other people as well through things that you've gone through.
Yeah, for sure.
And when did you first realize that storytelling was something that you wanted to do? Was it like, did music come first and then you realized that you loved storytelling through music, or like how did it all unfold for you?
When I really realized like my thing was storytelling, like my passion was storytelling. I think that was like when I had written Jody, and that was like being inspired by Immortal Technique. He's got a song called Dance with the Devil, and then Slick Rick, who he has a song called Children's Story, and like hearing those songs where it's like literally they're just wrapping this story from start to finish, and you're kind of just like imagining this in your mind. And for me, that was just like crazy. And I love that. And I was already rapping, I was already making music. So when I was like, I want to do that, I want to try that, I want to write my own story. Around that time in my life, I was about 16, it's about 17, 18, I'd say. I was involved in a lot of like youth ambassador stuff, and I grew up in early intervention programs. I was a part of Just Reinvest, and I was rapping at these places where there was a lot of like people in suits that very different to your normal like rap crowd. So I wanted to like create a story of like where we're from, that I could tell, that for people that aren't from our community and haven't grown up in places where these things happen, it's kind of like it's showing them, it's giving them a window into our world kind of thing. And when I wrote that first song, I was like, all right, this is how I want to make music. Yeah. And I think that's when I first really realized. But when I really think about it, like it goes back to being a kid. Like my first, I guess, I really loved movies as a kid. So whenever I felt like kind of I was depressed, or I felt like I was sad, or I felt like I needed an escape, I'd say, like I would just watch movies. And like I always had like my movies that I would go to.
What were like your favorite ones that you used to watch?
Well, as a kid, Scooby Doo was like that was like my, I don't know, whenever I just remember like my first ever like feeling, I don't know if it was depression or if it was like I don't know, like just that feeling of like being really down. And I remember putting on Scooby-Doo and I was just watching it and I was like, this makes me feel good, you know? And I think that became like a big thing for me after that. Is like I found that movies was my way to help, I don't know, kind of change how because I was quite young at the time. I couldn't really identify.
Like you didn't know exactly what it was that you were feeling, but when you put that on,
it made me feel better.
It made you feel good, yeah.
Yeah, and I think like that goes into like addiction and all that stuff as well, and I'm able to identify, throughout my teenage years when I did go through that stuff, it was the same thing, when I felt that feeling and I took this that made me feel better. Same thing was when I was a kid, I'd watch this movie, it'd make me feel better. So I think because of my love for like watching movies so much, the storytelling, I think also came from that. And then I say it on stage as well every time like I perform, like this is nothing new for us as black fellas. Like we've been telling stories for thousands of years, and like we didn't have written language. Everything was passed down through song, through dance, through art. So for me, it's just like I'm just carrying on a tradition that our people have been doing for thousands of years. And it's like I'm telling my story, but I'm also telling the story of today, of what it's like, not just for me, but for my community, for communities around the country. It's just like storytelling for me is, I feel like I've just always gravitated towards it.
Yeah, I think as you mentioned, like as Aboriginal people, we do have that within us. Like storytelling is just our way of life, and that's, from our grandparents, great-grandparents, just sitting down and listening to them speak and pass on stories. And, that's really great that you can keep doing that through your music and storytelling in that way. And who are some of your role models growing up?
Tupac was a massive role model for me. I'd watch so much of his documentaries. I'd listen to so much of his music, and he became like one of my biggest role models. I'd say like my youth workers at Weave Youth and Community Services. I was part of a program called Cool Kids Club when I was in primary school, and the workers there, like still to this day, like that I still speak to them because like that was such a big part of my life. And but the only thing like with that as well is like, they they would work there for a bit and then move on to another job, and then there was another worker that would
And
come
you had
in.
to like rebuild those relationships.
Yeah, and it was always good. Like everyone that they had still became very close with. So I'd say they were like good role models. My boxing trainer, eventually, you know, like when I started boxing, he became a good role model for me in my life. But like overall, like I looked to artists like Tupac, Kendrick, and because as a kid, especially as a young black man, like growing up without that positive male influence in my life, I think there was so many things from them that I was just like, I took a lot from. Because like growing up with just like my mum and my sisters and my aunties, you know, like there was a lot of things, you know, I took on a lot of my mum's, like my mum's kind, she's loving, she's like all of these things. And then when you're a young man and you're out in like where I grew up, like that's seen as weakness a lot of the time.
Yeah.
You know, and being kind, and, you know, like I think for a lot of that, it was like I was like questioning like I've got to be like this, I don't know, because I didn't know what that meant. I didn't have that positive, I didn't have that male influence, you know. So like listen to Tupac, listen to Kendrick, there's a lot of things that for them I learnt from, and it was in like a lot of positive ways. Like I didn't start reading books until I heard that Tupac read books, you know, and wrote poetry and like all of these things, and I'm like, all right, so like these are things that I want to do as well, you know. So there's so many different things that I feel like for me they became my role models and who I looked up to. Mundine was a big role model for me, like through boxing and stuff as well. Muhammad Ali, you know, these were big figures that I felt like they are men that I aspired to be, you know, and I wanted to be someone with a voice. I wanted to be someone that could, you know, had that kind of confidence and that kind of all of these things that I wished for myself as a young person, and they became role models for me.
And your work is so connected to community and all the things that you do for Mob and for youth as well. How do you balance being an artist with also being a role model within our community?
It goes hand in hand, because like I think I draw so much inspiration of like just what's going on at the moment. Like I've got my studio right in the neighborhood that I grew up in. So like how I was saying before, within Maroubra, Lexo is like our little community, you know. And I was very fortunate enough to meet Tag through Nakama Arts, and start this partnership where we were able to get a building right there in the heart of Lexo, Maroubra, you know. And so I'm in this same spot where my career started for me, and I'm also like I'm seeing so much of the same kind of stuff for the young people that was happening when I was a young person, but we also see it on a bit of a different scale now, you know. And so there's a lot of that for me it's like trying to show these young fellas that there's other ways to express what's going on for them. There's other ways for them to to let out like whatever's going on for them, to speak about what's going on for them. So I feel like it definitely goes hand in hand. Like me as an artist and me as a member of my community or a role model in my community, I feel like they're not separate things. I feel like, especially as an artist with influence and a platform, I feel like it's my responsibility to be that person in my community. So yeah, I definitely don't see them as different, and it's something that I'm still navigating, because not every kid wants to be a rapper, you know? They love rap music, but it's a lot of commitment as well, and it's a lot of opening up. It's like therapy too, because there's kids that come in and they write a rap about, you know, I've had kids that have written raps about personal stuff and then get really scared that someone was going to hear it, you know. And it's kind of, that's the same thing with us with like therapy or something, is we have that first like session and then we let all this stuff out and then we leave and then we're like I've never spoken about that before, or is this person going to tell someone, or like it's you know. And so it's the same kind of thing with music, you know. A lot of young people, when they do start to open up and do tell their story in that way, I think it's easier, and that's why you do see it a lot in hip hop. It's like the masking of behind a persona of what we think we need to do with music, rap music anyway, like gangster rap and all that stuff, you know. And so yeah, like there's a lot that I'm still navigating of like how to, I don't know, best pursue that with the young people in my community. We've also got downstairs, so we've got the music studio upstairs, and then downstairs is going to be a multi-purpose creative space.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. So it just creates like other opportunities in the creative arts space, which I think we lack so much in just across the country, which is like crazy to me because as blackfellas, like I said, like we've been creative people for thousands of years. We're good at sports.
Yeah.
we're really good at sports. Like I said, like boxing was my thing for ages, and we've got gyms everywhere and we've got so much of that stuff, but it's like, how do we not have more music studios? How do we not have more, you know, art studios? How do we not have more creative art stuff for young blackfellas that come from a long line and history and traditions of being creative people?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, so that's what I'm trying to work on a lot in my community at the moment.
And yeah, that's really awesome as well because like you said, not everyone wants to maybe make music, but it's a way if they come and they can write and they can channel that through songwriting, not necessarily having to, you know, rap it or perform it or whatever, but it can be like that release. So the fact that you're creating that safe space is really important for our young people. And you also have a podcast called No Role Models. Where did that idea come from? And like what inspired you to get into podcasting?
Yeah.
Do you enjoy it?
Yeah, is for me it was more like I love having these kind of conversations, you know. And it's like the name I've got to give credit for Daniel Daylight, my friend Daniel Daylight. He come up with the name. He suggested the name.
It's a really cool name because it's got like
the
two
twist.
meanings.
Yeah. So yeah, when he come up with it, I was just like, yeah, that's perfect. So yeah, that's where the name came from. And then I really like with our guests, you know, Adam Goods was obviously it was a massive moment to have him on the podcast and the things we got to speak about, you know. And I had my daughter in there with me as well.
Yeah. Had you met him before, or
yeah,
that was your first time?
I'd met him before, but it was like briefly. So we'd known each other, but like just briefly. I seen him at Yarbin one year. I was like,
just like run into him around the place. Yeah.
But when I reached out, he was keen. And he come in. My daughter was there and got some pictures with my daughter and stuff like that. And then the other guests that I had on as well, I really wanted to speak to people that I viewed as, you know, people doing good in our community and that are role models in our community and what that means as well, you know. And I wanted to, I felt like I wanted to have those conversations. And I didn't really know what I was doing a lot. I didn't have questions. I didn't have, you know, it was just a conversation.
A yarn,
you know? Yeah. And it was like, I was kind of getting into podcasts a lot more at the time, like listening to a lot more. So it was something that I wanted to try, and it's definitely something I'm going to continue. Like I got a podcast room in the studio, in Maroubra, but because of how many kids we were having come into the workshops, because they were just open workshops. So I was running them twice a week, every Wednesday and Friday afternoon from 3 to 6. And it was just like open. Like kids would just
heaps of people
ring
coming
the doorbell.
in.
We'd have like 30 kids come through.
Oh, that's awesome.
You know, and it was just me and Tasman Keith. It was just me and him for a long time.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of navigating, like, how do we do this? The podcast room then just became a second studio room. And then now Nakama Arts, who I spoke about before, now they're working out of that room as well, which is now like a proper studio as well in there. So we've kind of got the two studios, and Nakama Arts, they run a lot of their workshop stuff out of there, but we're also utilizing that space as well. So we've just got the two spaces.
Have you had any guests on that you've really learnt something from, or they've said something that's really resonated with you? And I know that you said you had Adam Goods on, and you know, the things that he's been through, you know, in his career was just like for him to get through that and come out the other side. Like, was there anything that you took from some of those interviews that really resonated with you?
It was such a long time ago. Like, I think, like, yeah, because my daughter, I think she was like 2 at the time, so it was a while ago. So I can't really remember a lot of like the questions and stuff like that. But I just remember, you know, speaking with Adam before. I watched, you know, the documentaries. I watched like a lot, obviously, like to be prepared of like what to ask him and stuff like that. So yeah, to just have like him come in and I think be able to sit there and yarn with me about obviously stuff that is big for him, and stuff that, you know, is hard to speak about. And, you know, I was quite young at that point as well. So to be sitting with someone that is so big for us, you know, just that for me, and to see, you know, the questions, like just having just the back and forth conversation. And I remember after he said that he felt like it was really good that like whatever question I did ask him, I would also come back with like something that I related to, because it was just conversation, you know. And he was like, it's good because then it's like it's more conversation and we're both telling our story. So out of that, I definitely took that away as like, when I do these podcasts, like I do want them to be conversations, and I do want them to be like that free flowing, and I think that was a big thing that I remember that I took away from Adam. Sam Johnson, who was another one that I had on the podcast. You know, been a good friend of Sam's for a while, and we spoke a lot about fatherhood. And you know, I had my daughter was like 2 years old at the time, and I was a single father at that time. Like I had just gotten her in my care around that time. I was living in Woolloomooloo in the city, so to be able to have that conversation at that time in my life, you know,
like it was like meant to be in a way that you were supposed to have that chat. So because there was a lot of things that I got to just speak to him about, you know. And he's a father who is, I don't know how old he is, but I'm not going to say he's a lot older than me. But, you know, like when I was a kid, he was one of the, you know, youth workers and stuff. He's not a lot older than I'm not calling you old, Sam, if you watch this. But like to have, you know, an older male. Like someone that you could look up to that was a bit older than you. To have like that conversation, because that was what I needed as well at that time in my life. Because like I know a lot of single mothers. My mum's a single mother, you know, like you know, like I grew up around a lot of single mothers that helped raise me, and there was like so many mums that I could go to about like advice about being a single parent and stuff like that. But there was a time when I'm like, I'm a single dad to a daughter that comes with like a lot of other things that I felt like I just couldn't speak to like my mum and stuff about. Just down to like there's just so many different things where I'm like, we need like more spaces for fathers to speak to each other about these things. Definitely.
Like there's because even just like things like now, like it's different, like because my partner is busy, so I had to bring the kids in. But before, when I didn't have a partner and it was just me and my daughter, there's times when I had to bring her along. And then even just like little things, so like she's a girl, so when there was like no parents' rooms and there was just like toilets where there's a boys and a girls, she'd refuse to come into the men's with me. And
then you're like, what do I do? You're not going to send her off by herself.
And like I'm going to have to go into the women's. I have to like alert like any women that are in there, like I'm just coming in to bring my daughter in. Like I know a lot of women would understand that too, but there's just those little things as well. Just for me was like, there's just like a lot at that time in my life. I really needed to have those conversations. And
it's great that you have that platform through your podcast, that it's not just a conversation that other people can get stuff out of, but you're also able to have these yarns and it resonates with you and it also helps you too, which is really awesome. And you've shared stages with, you know, a lot of massive artists, Briggs, Barker, Jess Mauboy. What have been some like defining moments in your career, and like even traveling overseas as well? Like what has been some of those big moments for you?
There's been so many moments, and like I think throughout my life, I've it's a lot for me to process things, especially when they first happen. Like it takes me a few days to really process.
You're like, what is life? Like, how is this happening?
Yeah. Sometimes it even takes like now to like think back on things, and
Yeah.
I'm like, that actually happens, you know. But I think like definitely even just with Briggs, you know, like we did. I forget what the show was, but Uncle Archie Roach performed, and I think I had just signed to Bad Apples at the time. But to be performing, I think it was like 2,000 people in Melbourne, at Melbourne Zoo, I'm pretty sure it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a young, I think I was like 19, 20 at the time. You know, like I flew down there. I got free shoes from Jetty Sports, and you know,
So cool.
like, yeah, it was just. I think for that moment for me as a young person, that was a really big moment for me. I got to share the stage with Uncle Archie Roach. You know, massive moment. Briggs, got to watch Briggs rip it up. Who I've been like massively inspired by as well. You know, and then to be on his label, just sharing the stage as an artist on his label. That was a very, very big moment for me. My block parties, I throw block parties, Southeast block party in Maroubra. They're really, really big moments for me, especially the first one. So last year we did our 5th one, so we did them 5 years in a row. And yeah, I'd say that those shows have always been my favorite. We also did a block party in Maroubra as well, which was another really big moment. And the block party at first just started as an idea. Like I was like 21 or 22 at the time, young kid. I just wanted to do something big in my community. I wanted to do, you know, the idea come from, I don't know if you've seen Dave Chappelle's block party, where he had the Fugees, he had Common, he had Kanye West, he had all these different artists come out in New York to throw this block party. And if you watch when Kanye West is on stage, you look at the front and there's a young J. Cole. He's like 18, 17 years old. And you can see it's J. Cole, but he's a kid, you know?
So crazy.
And it's like, that wasn't like, I just spotted that just by watching it, you know? And then, so for me, I was like, I want to do that in my community and bring artists that these young kids in my community feel like they might not ever see or might not ever get to go to a concert or any of that stuff, you know. That first year we had Barker, Planet Vegeta. Who else did we have on the first year? I'm not sure if A-Girl was the first year or the second year, but we had so many artists that I'm like, I want to bring artists to my community that these young kids, you know, get to come and see for free, and get to be inspired by, just like J. Cole was standing there watching Kanye West, you know. He was probably standing there watching Kanye thinking like, this is what I want to be when I'm older. And then you see where J. Cole is now, you know. And so that was like my dream and idea for the block party. I wanted some young kid to see that for people, us on stage as artists. And then it was also just like, my community has been hit with so much grief and so much death. Suicide's a massive thing in my community. And the only time that we would see everyone together, like everyone, was for funerals.
Yeah.
You know, and I got so sick of going to funerals, and seeing like certain people, and then like you'd see them at this friend's funeral, and then like a few months later, like they're gone themselves, you know. That became like a big thing. And I remember for my one of my good friends that I lost when I was 19. I just remember that feeling of when we did like the memorial for him, and just seeing just like everyone from around the area together. Just that feeling of just having everyone together like that. We're obviously all grieving, and we're all there for the same, you know, thing. And so to have this block party and do the same thing, but for something positive, with no drugs, no alcohol, and see everyone from the community there was like massive for me. And that first year we had like 1,000 people.
So cool. So like that you're inspiring all these kids to, like you said,
Mm.
having artists that they look up to, that they listen to, and they think like, I'm never going to be able to meet this person at all. And then you're providing that for them is, you know, something that would probably change their life, or they'd think about it for the rest of their life, that they had that opportunity to
100%.
do that. And like you said, like I had Jake Gablonsky on yesterday he is an ambassador for Are You OK? And we were talking about, you know, the suicide rates and how like within our community, mental health it's like such a massive issue, and to have these positive things to look forward to and not just see your family at the next funeral, because it's, you know, it is really sad. And yeah, the fact that you're giving our people that platform to experience something positive in a positive environment is really amazing, and you're definitely making changes for the next gen, which is great. And I really want to talk to you about fatherhood as well. You've become a dad. How has that changed you as a man? And I guess like the music that you create as well, like did it change your vision of things that you wanted to talk about in your music?
Yeah, it definitely, like before I had kids, I was already, I started already being very conscious about like what I was going to speak about in my music and who my audience was, and you know, so I was definitely already on that. But then, yeah, having my first child, my daughter out there, you know, like that threw me into a whole different stage of my life. So that definitely came with so many different ways that I needed to express myself through my art. And it definitely, yeah, there was points where, you know, like Father's Eyes come from a time of really, and now I know it as just a normal, like, I think parent thing, like, is that guilt of like, am I being the best parent that I can be? Like, am I doing enough? Which is, I think so many parents, speaking to a lot of parents, you know, like we're always asking that. And I heard this quote, and it was like, it says, parenting is only hard for good parents, you know. And it's like, I think that made me feel a bit easier about myself and speaking to other parents, because it's like, if we didn't care about our kids, we wouldn't be thinking, are we doing enough?
Like you wouldn't
for
be
them?
questioning like, am I doing this right? Because you question it because you care.
So that, like, for me, like, it was in that moment where I was like, I just started writing about it. And I started writing about, like, you know, not realizing that my mum and my dad had kind of gone through that exact same thing that me and my daughter's mother had gone through, you know, because me and my daughter's mum, like, we had split just before she was born, you know, and my daughter has lived with me since she was about 18 months old. And, you know, there's a lot of different things that, you know, like, not exactly the same as like my mum and dad's relationship, but I could see a lot of similarities. And I think there was a time when they became a bit of understanding as well, like, with my dad, in different ways. So yeah, like it was definitely like becoming a father did so much for me as an artist, but also just as a person. I used to think that having a kid was going to fill this void that I was missing from not having a dad, and like kind of having that broken home kind of feeling. And I think it's the same for a lot of us that come from broken homes, is we think that having a kid is like going to fill that void for us. And so a lot of us become parents really young. You know, I almost became a dad when I was 16. You know, my mum and my dad had me when they were 16. You know, and when that time did come, I was like heavy in addiction. I was kind of living at my mum's, but I wasn't living at my mum's. I was just here, there, and everywhere. You know, like I wasn't ready to have a child. So when she was born, I thought that everything was going to change. I was like, you know, when she's born, I'm going to stop drinking. I'm going to stop doing drugs. I'm going to stop doing this. I'm going to, you know, and it just didn't happen that way. And it took longer than I thought it would. And so, yeah, when there was that moment of when I did get her in my care, and I'd gone through rehab, and I had worked on myself, and a lot of things were coming up for me. And I remember I had put her to bed, and I went into my little studio setup that I had. And I remember I was crying just at the thought of am I doing the right thing? Am I a good dad? Am I this? Am I that? Questioning so much of it. And then I just started writing about it. And that's where Father's Eyes came from. And, through that, a lot of the times, if I know what I'm going to write about, I still don't really know. If that makes sense. A lot of times when I go in and I create music, most of the time I don't know what I'm going to write. I'll go into the session with a producer, and then the producer might ask what I'm listening to at the moment or something like that, and start making the beat. And then I'll usually let the beat tell me what kind of story needs to be told on this. In this situation, I was feeling this really heavily. And I started just writing, and I didn't know what I was going to write about, but I knew that I wanted to speak on how I was feeling. And I felt a lot of guilt that I didn't, go to rehab and do all those work on myself before she was born. I felt a lot of guilt of, not being as ready as I should have been before I became a father. There's so much things that through that verse were coming out, and then it kind of made me just think of my mum and my dad. And I started thinking of my dad, and I'm like, yeah, my dad was 16, 17. He was a kid when he had me, and probably had his own problems. And there's probably a lot of trauma that he grew up with, and there's probably a lot of... So even just writing through that, I'm just it made me start thinking of, him in a different way, and kind of understanding him as where he's come from, while also acknowledging my mum and what she's been through. And so there was becoming a parent. I know this is a big answer. Sorry.
No, it's really good, because I think a lot of people will be able to relate. Yeah.
It's because it's a constant thing for me, because it never ends. And I'm always revisiting these conversations, even just with my partner now, because we both speak about it all the time, how different our kids have it than what we had it as young kids. And I feel definitely even just in that song, that's my way to express what I'm going through, and it definitely influenced so much of what I write about, and the music that I make. But it also, having a girl first, that changed so much in me as a male. There was a lot of things I had to start thinking about in different ways of I didn't want my daughter to see me with different girlfriends all the time. I didn't want her to think that was just a normal thing that guys do. We just have different girlfriends all the time, and I'm just introducing her to this girl and this girl. When she was living, while she's been in my care, that was a big thing that I was and I knew that whoever I do choose to be my partner, and any relationship that I am in, it becomes very important for my daughter to see what a healthy relationship looks like. It becomes very important for my daughter to see how a man should treat their partner. And so there was a lot of thinking that I feel that's why I needed to have a daughter first. Not saying that I wasn't like that before, but as a young male, it's girlfriends.
It just made you grow up as well and see things from a different perspective.
Yeah, because someone's watching you now. And you're going to have the biggest impact above anyone in this world on this child that is growing into their own person, and you really want to make that the best you can. You really want to be the best you can for them. And that's why I say it's still an ongoing thing, because even right now it becomes different battles, different struggles, different time's a big thing, that now in my life I think is the biggest with being a parent, is I'm working a lot, but I'm also I do get to be there a lot more than other parents as well, in a sense of like, if I'm doing shows, I'm away for that weekend, but then I'm home again for like the next 2 weeks. So I'm doing school drop off, pick up every single day.
Not like other parents when or like if they have to be in the office and then they don't get home till, like after dinner or something, and they're missing all those moments. Like you might be gone for a couple of days and then you get to have all of that time with your kids, which is really nice. Yeah.
So it's like an on and off kind of like, I do school drop off and pick up pretty much every day. So I do, like, I love that I still get those moments and I still get to do those things. But then there's always going to be those times when I'm like, am I giving enough time? Like, should I, because I'm working on my album this year and like getting ready to drop it, and there's so much time that I had to like go away for a week and get an Airbnb just to try and make as much music in
have
that
some
week.
like quiet time to yourself to do it. Yeah.
Because like for me, it's school hours now. Like my music making is like scheduled. Like I drop the kids off, and then like I do sessions during the day, and then school pick up in the afternoon. So it's like
it's like dad mode.
and it's like switching from creating and like even just like pouring my heart out in like making songs that took a lot to just write, and then I have to switch straight to dad mode now, and then like there's a lot of that I think as a parent just navigating that it's an ongoing thing, and it's always going to be that. So
I think it's really beautiful that you're trying to be a really good male influence like for your daughter, because I think like as a little girl, your dad is the first man to like love you, obviously when you grow up and you get into relationships, like that is a different love, a different relationship. But the way that your dad treats you, and even the way that you see your dad treat like your mum or like other women around as well, it really sets like the bar for how you want to be treated. And it's like if you don't see that, you feel like you don't know what it means, if that kind of makes sense. Like, yeah, if I'm even like explaining it properly, but
100%, because that's exactly how I think. Like, I'm like, I want my daughter to know what the standard is. Like my daughter, she asked me, because sometimes I'll just come home with flowers just for my partner. Just
that's
like
so
random,
nice.
and like because I'll just be at the shops and I'll just be like, I don't know, like I'll be walking past, I'll get her some flowers today, and my daughter asked me, she's like, why do you always buy Jade flowers? And I was like, listen, I was like, when you get older, like if your boyfriend doesn't buy you flowers, I said like you gotta have that conversation with him, because it's like, when it comes to Valentine's Day and these kinds of things, it's like, it's the thought, and I want her to know that, just those little gestures, just those things, like they're normal or they should be normal for a male to do those things for their partner.
Like the bare minimum of what you would expect your partner to do. Yeah. But sometimes some men don't see that. Like they're just like, oh, like why should I buy you flowers? And it's like, because it's just a nice thing to do, or it makes your partner feel happy. And like you said, like your daughter seeing that, she'll be like, okay, well that's like an expectation that I have and the way that I should be treated. So you're like really setting that example, which is so important, because otherwise you do feel like, okay, you see other people around you having it, you're like, okay, well, is it me, or is it not a normal thing, or you know what I mean? So I think it's really important that you just do those little things, and then she sees them, because it's setting that really high standard of how she'll be treated and the relationships that she'll want to be in as well, like very healthy relationships with a lot of love and a lot of care and respect as well, which is really important.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's why like a lot of I just really believe that our first kids that we have, like we're supposed, if you get a boy or if you get a girl, I feel like there's a reason why, like, because I was speaking, one of my friends is about to have a baby, and I said for her and her partner, I was like, I think you're going to have a boy, because I feel like for me, I needed to have a girl, because there was a lot of things that, of all of those things that I I feel like at that point in my life, I needed that. You know, I needed to start thinking about those things, and I needed like, you know, yeah, and it was just like I feel like, yeah, for me it really made me grow up a lot quicker, and yeah, how it should for when you become a parent at that age, especially.
You know that the type of father that you want to be, but like, what do you want to leave behind for your kids, like the legacy, and I guess the way that they view you when they get older, like how they see you as a dad.
Yeah, so that's like where I'm at now. You know, I speak about it a lot in like my, just what I write about a lot at the moment. Is like, yeah, like I think a lot of that little voice in their head. You know, how are they gonna hear my voice in their head? Is it gonna be like me yelling at them? Is it gonna be me, you know, telling them I love them? Is it gonna be, you know, there's a lot of that I think about so much at the moment, and I'm like, I want them to, yeah, I want that when they think of me, I want those times, the I love yous, the hugs, the kisses, the feeling safe, you know, like my daughter even said it like the other day. She's like, when I am away, she's like, I love it when you're here because I know that you're big, and if anything happens, like I feel safe, you know. And like there's just little things like that where I'm just like for her, she sees me as this big, you know, safety person for her, that like when I'm not there, it's not that she doesn't feel safe, but it's like, you know, for her
protector.
Yeah. And it's like that was just a moment for me of like I nearly started crying, because I'm like, yeah, that's what I want. I want her to feel safe when I'm around. I want her to feel, you know, I don't want her to feel like she's walking on eggshells around me. You know, I don't want, because I know, like, yeah, I don't know. I'm very conscious, like when I think of how I want her to remember me. Like it's a weird way to say it like that, but yeah, even when I'm gone, like I want those to be like her memories of me, that I was, yeah, that kind of person for her.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And even her just saying that to you, it should like affirm to you like you are doing like such a good job as a dad as well. So yeah, for her to say that's really like at such a young age as well, to like even identify those feelings of like feeling safe and protected. And you did mention that you're dropping an album soon. You've also been dabbling in like some acting. I was watching Heartbreak High over the weekend. What was that experience like? Because was that like your first time being involved in like an acting role?
It wasn't my first. Like I'd done kind of acting like as a kid, in a short film, which I loved. But like proper acting, I had another small role in another show called Against the Ropes, and this was back in I think 2018 or 2017. And they needed actual boxers to play the boxers in the show. And then they asked if I wanted like a small role as well. So I was like, yeah, for sure. So like I played an actual boxer, and because they wanted it to look as real as it could. And then I had a few scenes. So that was my first experience with like proper acting, and it was good too because my character had to feel nervous in the scene,
and you were already feeling nervous.
Yeah. So after when they're like, you did so good, I was like,
I was just being myself.
Yeah, like literally. And so yeah, like I had a lot of fun with that. And then for the Heartbreak High stuff, like I got the call for the audition. I got asked to audition, and I was like, yeah, like straight away. I was like, yeah, for sure. And like my mum, like she used to watch Heartbreak High when she was a kid, you know?
Yeah, like the OG version.
Yeah, the original, because the original, it's all shot in Maroubra.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty, I don't know, because it's shot at Maroubra High, which is now Maroubra Public School. And I think my mum went to Maroubra High for a bit, but she also went to Matter High. But yeah, my mum like loves that show when she was a kid, and because she'd shown me before, like and be like, this is what I used to love, because I think when it first came on Netflix, and then when I got the audition and I said it to my mum, I think my mum was more excited for it than I was. Like I was very excited, but she was like, oh, I wonder what like role you're gonna play and this and that, and so yeah, I was pumped, and I did the audition. This is back in the first season, and I was like, I don't think I'm gonna get that because I didn't think I did good in the audition. I was nervous, but I got the part, and yeah, like that in the first season, I think playing Jai was, you know, my character was definitely, I could see a lot of myself in my character, which made it easier to switch into that role. And like I said before, like movies was my thing as a kid, so I always knew that I wanted to either like write a movie and make my own movie, or act, or do both, like write and then act in my own movie. I knew that's, and it still is, a goal of mine that I want to do. So doing this for me was like a childhood dream kind of thing as well, you know? And so, yeah, when I was playing this role, I really tried to just tap into that. Like, who is Jai? What would Jai's from Maroubra, so there wasn't a lot I had to change in how I acted. I just had to act like someone from Maroubra. And I was like, I'm already that. Yeah. But there was like, I think even just some lines in the script where I'm like, I just changed it like just to the way that someone from Maroubra would speak, you know, and I felt like, yeah, I was like, I feel like it just, if I'm going to play someone from there, like I need that authenticity needs to be there, and I wasn't pulled up on any of it, so I was
also, they didn't even, you just like dropped it in like when they were like, okay, rolling, and then you just dropped it in, because
I was like, if they want me to do the actual script line by line, they'll just pull me up and say, can you do the actual line? But I was like, I'm just going to say it how I would usually say it.
It's funny because Sherry Lee, I interviewed her, I think last year, and she was kind of telling me similar things, just with like the writing process. Like there were things she'd be like, we would never say that. Like we would say, you know, it this way or whatever. And they were like so happy for her to kind of take that control to make it authentic, and also the way that, you know, she would maybe speak anyway. So I think, you know, that just also is like good for the production team, because they kind of, you know, they let you guys really own your role.
Yeah, for sure. And because like I wasn't a part of like the script writing, I wasn't a part of like, because I wasn't a main character, and I wasn't, you know, I played Sherry's older brother, you know, Missy's older brother. So I was just kind of just given the scripts, and it was just that, just minor, just little things that I'm like, even just bro, like we don't say bro, you know, like just little things like that. Yeah. Or, you know, I'd say bruz, because like, that's what we say. Like, it's just that, just little things like that I'm like, I just want to make Jai. I want like people from my area to see Jai and be like, yeah, Jai's from Maroubra, you know. And so, yeah, to be able to play with those little bits was mad. And then the scene where, like, I save Malachi on the roof, that was like I could feel it at the time, like, playing it, that it was a powerful scene. But then when it came out and watching it, I was like, all right, like, that's, yeah, it was just like, it was very powerful. And then to, like, for other people to, like, when they spoke about it with me, and saying that, yeah, just how powerful, like, those kind of scenes and how my character played out in that, like, for me, felt really good, because I was like, I'm not an actor. I felt like just that imposter syndrome even being there with other actors. Yeah. And yeah, so it was a big, different experience for me with season 1. And then when I got asked to do season 3, I was like, yeah, I was just so excited. I was like, I get to do this again. Like, all right.
Your mum would have been really excited too.
Yeah. And like, I wasn't, I think because from the first one, I was like, for me, it was kind of like, all right, I didn't do too bad. So they do want me back.
They've asked you to come back. Yeah.
And then this one, like, I had more dialogue. Like I had to remember like a whole speech and
Yeah, what's it like learning lines? I don't think I could ever do it. I get the worst brain fog, and like I forget. I'll like walk into the kitchen and forget like what I even walked in for. So learning lines for me, like absolutely not. Like even when I'm recording here, I have like a script on my phone and I have a tripod. Like I cannot remember things like that. So what's it like for you trying to memorize lines and all
I have
that sort of thing?
ADHD, so it's definitely I'm the same. I walk into a room and be like, why am I even in here? But I think like being a rapper, I think like years and years of memorizing my lines of rapping. I think that I don't know, maybe it's a muscle that I've been able to work the way like, because if I've just written something and then I record it and I'm like, I've got to perform it like in 2 days. Like I've got to remember all of those lyrics, you know? And I think it might have been that, but then it's also the more comfortable I got with not getting every word exactly how it's written, and I kind of just like whatever I could remember.
As long as it's like along those lines and you're like ad-libbing or whatever.
Yeah. And I think that definitely helps, because I think it's the same on stage. Like when I muck up a lyric, usually the crowd doesn't notice. And I notice, and I used to, like when I first would muck up, I'd make it a big thing. I'd be like, I'd muck it up and I'd be like, next song, you know? Or I'd be like, rewind it or something like that. And then I just started realizing that, you know, if I muck up, either freestyle it and just like say something else, or just take a minute and just make it look like, you know,
it was
just
meant
part
to
of the
happen.
set. Yeah. And so I learned to just do that, and like even still to this day, all my shows I muck up words all the time, and I think knowing that I'm gonna muck up a word makes it easier for me, because I'm like, I know it's gonna happen at some point.
It's like more relaxed about it. Like if it happens, it happens.
Yeah. And it's like just letting it flow. And I think taking that into scripts and like revising a script was kind of the same thing for me. It was like, all right, just don't think too much into the words. Yeah, and just kind of just go off of what I can remember. The hard thing was like my scene, I'm doing a speech and they're all looking at me. It's like,
was that at the birthday?
Yeah. So I'm not on a stage. I'm not on like, and like for me it was like, again, the imposter syndrome, because these are all like really good actors, you know. Even like Sherry, like I think she's like such an amazing actor, and like to be playing her older brother as well, you know. It was just like I was standing there and I'm like, I'm not supposed to be here kind of thing, you know. Like these are just such amazing actors, and so I had to like deliver these lines, and each time after I'm like, did I do good? Because it's like we don't sit there and talk about it after. It's like, cut, all right, everyone, we're doing this again. And it's like, so for me it was like learning to just not think too much into it. I just had to just do it.
Go with it.
Yeah.
Did any of the other cast members give you any advice or support? I know obviously like with Sherry Lee, like you guys would have been quite close like with filming. Was she there to like guide you or give you any advice or support? Or
if I ever said I was nervous, everyone was just like, you got this, like you're right. And I think like that took my mind off a lot of it as well, because we wouldn't really speak about like that. We'd just be yarning, you know, like if we're in makeup, if we're in like, we're talking about, I think like that helped like take my mind off of things as well, because we were getting to know each other as well. And, you know, and yeah, so I guess like I just tried to act like I knew what I was doing. So I didn't really like tell everyone like, is there any tips? Is there any of this and that? Because I also wanted to just like, I feel like it's still the same even with my rapping. Like if I go on stage and I'm nervous, I've got to act like I'm not nervous, you know, and I've got to step into that. And it's the same kind of thing, I guess, like I'm acting. I go into professional mode pretty much. So I think that there was a bit of that as well. I knew how nervous I was, and like I felt like I didn't need to be there, but I'm not going to let everyone know that that's how I feel.
And if they can see you being like really confident and they believe it, then you belong there.
Yeah. And
basically.
That was my thinking. And it probably didn't, I definitely looked nervous a lot because I was, it was so different for me. Whereas like if I'm on stage and it's my show, I feel confident. I know what I'm going to say. I'm vibing off the energy of the crowd. I'm, all of these things. Whereas with this, it was just so different. And I was just so out of my comfort zone. But then to see the finished product and watch it, I'm like, all right, like I definitely want to do more of this.
And do you have any other shows coming up that you want to audition for, or any that you're like on the horizon that you...
No, like it is something that we've spoke about, because I didn't have a booking agent or anything like that.
So they just approached you and...
They just approached my manager. So like any role that I did get like that, it was just, they reached out. How to Make Gravy, that movie as well. They reached out to me. I auditioned for that and I got the part. But when they told me the dates I was filming, it was like the due date of my son.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was in Brisbane.
Oh, so you would have had to have been away.
Yeah, so I turned down that role. And yeah, that was a moment too, I guess, where I was like, do I potentially miss the birth of my son for this opportunity? Or do I miss this opportunity for the birth of my son? And it was like, of course, like my son was like my main... I wasn't going to miss that for the world. So I chose to turn down that role. And since then, like, haven't really had any other roles come up, but it is something that we want to pursue. And even just with this album, like, I'm doing a bit more acting stuff just within my
just incorporating it in.
Yeah, and having a bit more fun with like writing, I guess, like script writing and doing stuff like that as well. So I'm definitely doing some more stuff like that with this album. But yeah, you'll definitely see me on screen again. It's definitely something that I want to do. So yeah.
What kind of legacy do you hope that people can look back on and be like, he did that and that paved the way for me? Or
I guess like that would be a big thing for me. Is like I'd want to be remembered as, I guess there's so many different things. Like my most important thing is like for my kids, I want to be remembered as a good father. For my community, I want to be remembered as, someone that really cared about his community. In music, I want to be remembered as someone that made an impact on the scene here for music, for not even just for black fellas here, but music in the whole country. Like I want to make impact for us here. I want to be remembered, I want to be remembered in so many different, for all of those things. I want to be remembered as giving my best to everything, like I feel like Muhammad Ali, like is a big, when he says he's the greatest, a lot of the conversation is like, oh, but he lost to this person, he lost to this person. And it's like, you've got like Mayweather, or you've got other boxers who are undefeated, never been beaten before. But it's like, he wasn't the greatest because he wasn't undefeated. He was the greatest because of the person that he was, and he was a man of the people. He was a man, he stood up for, the black people of America. He stood up for who he was as, in his religion. He stood up for so much more than just boxing, and that's why he's the greatest. And for me, I'm like, that's the legacy I want to leave behind. Like, I want to be remembered for, in all aspects of my life, that I gave it my best, and I always just tried to be the best person I could. Because I feel like, greatness isn't just being great at one thing, it's being great at all aspects at the best you can. So
yeah, perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
No worries.
Everyone has been asking me to get you on the podcast because when everyone's like, who's your next guest? Who's your next guest? And they're like, you've got to get Kobie Dee on. So I think everyone will be so excited to listen to this episode. And thank you for sharing and being like so vulnerable as well especially about fatherhood. I think a lot of people, not just like, parents are like men who are going to be fathers, they can take a lot away from, you know, the things that you've been through. So thank you for sharing and thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
And that's your access for today. Another yarn shared, another story unlocked. I'm Lowanna Grant and this is Access Granted. Access Granted would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we are recording today and the lands that you're tuning in from. I pay my respects to all elders past and present, and I extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples listening. I honour our stories, cultures and knowledge systems that have existed here for over 65,000 years and continue to guide us today. This always was and always will be Aboriginal land.